Have you ever caught yourself acting in a way that doesn't feel like you, just to fit in, to please others, or to be accepted? Maybe it's at work when you put on that confident, polished voice even though you're trembling inside. Or perhaps it's at family gatherings when you wear the role of the responsible one or the peacekeeper, even if deep down you want to shout or rebel. Carl Jung had a name for this mask we wear: the persona. The persona is not a lie. It is not simply pretending. It's more like a costume stitched together from expectations, culture, and survival. Jung believed that every human being develops a persona because society requires it. If we showed every raw emotion, every impulse, every insecurity at all times, we wouldn't be able to function in a world that demands order and cooperation. The persona is the tool that allows us to step into society's play without being rejected at the door. But here is the paradox. The persona protects us, and at the same time it limits us. It allows us to function, but it also hides us from ourselves. If we forget that the persona is just a mask, we begin to confuse the mask with our true self. Imagine living your whole life thinking you are the actor on the stage, while the real you waits in the wings, unseen, unheard, slowly suffocating. In modern life, this concept is more relevant than ever. Social media has become a grand theater of personas. On Instagram, we present the polished, smiling, adventurous version of ourselves. On LinkedIn, we polish the professional mask, hardworking, ambitious, always ready for success. On TikTok, we might try on the humorous or trendy mask. Each platform demands a different persona, and we adapt. But what happens when the masks start to blur? When you no longer know if the smile is yours or the filter's? When the performance doesn't end, even when you're alone? Jung warned about this danger. The persona should be like a tool you pick up when you need it, not an identity you cling to as if your life depends on it. When people over-identify with their persona, they risk spiritual emptiness, depression, or a sense that life is meaningless. Because deep down, the self, the real essence of who you are, cannot be reduced to a mask. It yearns for authenticity, for wholeness, for being seen as it truly is. Think about the roles you play every day. At work, are you the problem solver, the leader, the loyal follower? At home, are you the caretaker, the joker, the mediator? These roles are personas. They are not inherently false, but they are partial truths. They are like fragments of a mirror, reflecting only part of your soul. If you believe those fragments are the whole, you end up living a partial life. Here's a practical way to recognize your persona. Notice when you feel drained after social interaction. Often, it is because you've been wearing the mask too tightly for too long. Maybe you've been smiling while you wanted to cry, or agreeing when you wanted to object. That exhaustion is the soul reminding you, this is not all of me. Another clue is when you feel an inner split. One part of you performing, another part silently screaming, this isn't real. Jung never suggested abandoning the persona. He understood that without it, we couldn't function. The challenge is not to destroy the mask, but to recognize it as a mask. To know when you are wearing it and why. To learn to take it off when you're safe, when you're with people who love the unfiltered you, or even when you are alone in silence. That moment, when the mask falls and you meet yourself, is the beginning of individuation, the process Jung called the journey to wholeness. The persona also explains why so many people feel lost in midlife. Around the age of 40, many realize that the roles they've been playing, good employee, dutiful parent, loyal partner, no longer satisfy their deeper soul. They sense there is more, something waiting behind the mask, something that has been silenced for decades. This is why Jung said midlife is not a crisis of age, but a crisis of authenticity. When you begin to ask, who am I without the mask? You are standing at the threshold of transformation. It may feel terrifying because the mask is safe and familiar, but it is also liberating because beyond the mask lies freedom. Beyond the mask lies the self, waiting to be rediscovered. So the next time you feel yourself slipping into a role, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, is this my persona or is this truly me? There's no shame in wearing the mask. It is necessary. But wisdom lies in knowing the difference. Remember, the persona is a mask you wear every day. It can help you navigate the world, but it is not the totality of your soul. Only when you dare to look behind it can you begin to touch the vastness of who you really are. If this exploration of the persona resonated with you, consider subscribing to Mind Alchemy. Here, every week, we uncover the symbols and insights that can transform the psyche, one insight at a time. Have you noticed how easy it is to become trapped in the persona without realizing it? At first, it feels harmless, even useful. You act more confident in meetings, you play the reliable friend, you carry the responsible parent mask. These roles help you navigate life. But slowly, if you never take them off, they begin to define you. The mask hardens, and one day you wake up wondering, who am I when nobody is watching? Jung described this problem as over-identification with the persona. Instead of being a flexible mask, it becomes a prison. Think of the corporate executive who lives only as the CEO, even at home, unable to connect with their children beyond authority and performance. Or the comedian who must always be funny, terrified of showing sadness. Or the parent who never allows themselves to be more than the caregiver, forgetting they are also a dreamer, a creator, a human with needs. When the persona dominates, the rest of the psyche is silenced. This is why so many people experience an inner split. One part of them follows the rules of the role, while another part quietly whispers, "I want more." That whisper is often ignored for years, but it does not disappear. It may surface as anxiety, as depression, or as an unexplained emptiness. The soul resists being reduced to a single mask. The self wants wholeness, not a costume. So how do you begin to recognize when the persona has taken control? Start by paying attention to the moments you feel disconnected from yourself. Maybe you're laughing at a joke you don't find funny, nodding at an idea you disagree with, or playing along with a conversation that drains you. That discomfort is a clue. The persona is working overtime, and your authentic self is suffocating beneath it. Another clue appears in relationships. If you constantly feel unseen, it may be because you're showing only the persona. You might be admired for your success, your humor, or your kindness, but deep inside you feel misunderstood. That is the loneliness of living behind a mask. People may love the role you play, but do they know the person beneath it? Jung believed the path forward was not to throw away the persona, but to hold it lightly. You need it at work, with strangers, in situations where raw honesty would cause harm. But you also need spaces where the mask can be set down. This might be a trusted friend, a therapist, a journal, or even time alone in silence. In those spaces, you allow the hidden self to breathe. Think of it like this. The persona is a useful outfit for certain occasions, but you should not sleep in it, shower in it, and wear it every waking moment. Without rest, the fabric chafes the skin. Without space, the soul withers. Jung called the process of balancing the persona with the rest of the psyche individuation. It is the slow, courageous work of reclaiming all parts of yourself, not just the socially acceptable ones. This is also why midlife can feel like an earthquake. For decades, you may have worn the same mask, loyal worker, caring spouse, dependable parent. But one day, the deeper self begins to shout. It demands to be heard. Suddenly, the role feels empty. The career loses its shine. The relationships feel scripted. This is not a failure. It is an invitation. Jung would say the mask has served its purpose, and now it is time to step closer to your true self. So, how can you apply this in daily life? Start small. When you notice yourself slipping into automatic performance, pause. Ask, am I wearing this mask by choice or by fear? If it is fear, fear of rejection, of judgment, of not being enough, then gently remind yourself that authenticity, though vulnerable, is what nourishes the soul. If it is choice, if the mask helps you navigate a role with awareness, then use it consciously. Awareness is the difference between freedom and captivity. Imagine being able to walk into a room knowing exactly which persona you are choosing, and also knowing that it is not the whole of you. Imagine leaving that room and setting the mask down without guilt. That is freedom. That is authenticity. That is the beginning of wholeness. The persona is not your enemy. It is a bridge between your inner world and society. But a bridge is not a home. You cannot live on it forever. True life begins when you dare to cross it. Step off the stage and meet yourself in the quiet beyond the mask. If this reflection sparked something inside you, stay with us here at Mind Alchemy. Each week we explore Jung's wisdom to help you transform the psyche, one insight at a time. Have you ever wondered why certain situations leave you feeling strangely hollow, as though you played the part but never truly showed up. This hollowness is often the echo of the persona taking over. Jung explained that persona is not inherently bad, it's necessary for survival. But the danger arises when we begin to confuse the role with our true identity. The teacher who only knows herself as the educator, the soldier who only knows himself as the warrior, or the caregiver who only knows themselves as the helper. When the mask becomes the whole story, the deeper self starves. Modern culture makes this confusion even stronger. Think about the pressure of professional life in America. Success often demands constant performance, polished speeches, confident handshakes, endless productivity. These are all persona traits. But if you live inside them day after day without retreat, you risk losing touch with your own vulnerability, your doubts, your dreams. This is why so many high achievers confess to feeling like imposters. Their persona is flawless, but their inner self feels neglected. Social life is no different. Friend groups often expect certain roles: the funny one, the reliable one, the problem solver. We slip into these patterns until they feel automatic. But one evening, driving home after laughter and chatter, you may feel a wave of emptiness. Why? Because you realize you were loved for the mask, not for the whole of you. This is the price of persona dependence, relationships that never touch the core. Jung offered a way forward: awareness. The simple act of naming the persona as a mask begins to break its spell. He suggested observing your behavior with curiosity. When you enter a meeting, ask yourself, which mask am I putting on right now? When you're with family, notice, which role am I playing? The goal is not to stop, but to become conscious. Awareness transforms the persona from a prison into a tool. Another powerful practice is journaling. Write down the roles you played throughout the day: leader, friend, joker, caretaker. Then ask yourself, which moments felt authentic and which felt like performance? Over time, patterns emerge. You will discover where your persona is aligned with your soul and where it betrays it. Dreams also reveal the tension between mask and self. Jung believed that when the persona dominates, the unconscious protests in dreams. You might dream of being naked in public, symbolizing the fear of being seen without the mask. Or you may dream of losing a role, fired from a job, abandoned by friends, as the psyche dramatizes the collapse of persona. These dreams are not punishments, but signals. Your soul is asking for authenticity. Relationships can become laboratories for this work. With trusted friends or partners, dare to remove the mask. Share your fears instead of jokes, your uncertainty instead of certainty. You may feel exposed, even weak, but that is where intimacy grows. True connection cannot happen mask to mask. It only happens self to self. Jung knew that the risk of vulnerability is the gateway to real love. This awareness is also crucial for parenting. Many children grow up only ever meeting their parents' persona, the strict father, the endlessly giving mother. But what children crave is authenticity. They want to see the human beneath the role, to know that imperfection is allowed. When parents drop the mask, they give their children permission to be real too. So what is the transformation here? It is learning to live with the persona without being enslaved by it, to wear it when needed, but to take it off when the soul demands air, to remember that the role is a chapter, not the entire book. This transformation is not dramatic. It unfolds in small acts of honesty, saying, "I don't know," instead of pretending, admitting I'm tired instead of smiling through, confessing I'm afraid instead of acting invincible. Each act loosens the grip of the mask and lets the self breathe. Imagine the freedom of standing in a room without performance, without pretense, just yourself, enough as you are. That is what Jung called individuation, the gradual, courageous integration of all parts of the psyche. The persona is acknowledged but not worshipped. The self begins to shine through. If you carry one message today, let it be this: the persona is useful, but it is not you. You are infinitely larger, deeper, and more mysterious than any role you play. The mask may win applause, but only authenticity wins wholeness. If this journey toward authenticity speaks to you, stay connected with Mind Alchemy. Here, every insight is a spark guiding you closer to the self, transforming the psyche, one insight at a time. Have you ever felt like you were living someone else's life, as if the script had already been written for you? That sensation is often the work of the persona. Society hands us roles: student, worker, partner, parent, and we step into them like actors on a stage. For a time, the play feels natural, but if the mask never comes off, the performance begins to swallow the actor. Jung warned that the persona, though necessary, becomes dangerous when it replaces the deeper self. Consider how early this mask is formed. As children, we learn which behaviors earn approval and which bring rejection. We discover that being polite gets us praised, being quiet keeps the peace, being successful gains attention. Piece by piece, we build the persona. It is stitched together not from lies, but from strategies of survival. Yet each stitch hides a part of the authentic self. Over years, what began as protection can harden into identity. Modern culture amplifies this pressure. In America, success is often measured by how well one performs the persona of achievement. Always busy, always confident, always winning. But beneath the polished mask, anxiety grows. Many executives, celebrities, even ordinary workers confess to feeling like frauds. Their persona shines in public, but in private they feel small, uncertain, lost. This disconnection is not weakness, it is the natural rebellion of the self, which refuses to be reduced to an image. So how do we begin to step out from behind the mask? The first step is awareness. Notice the moments when your smile feels forced, when your words feel rehearsed, when your body feels drained. These are signals that the persona has taken control. The second step is permission. Give yourself the right to not perform, even if only in small ways. You might tell a friend, "I'm not fine today," or admit at work, "I don't know." These moments of honesty puncture the mask and allow the real self to breathe. Jung believed dreams were one of the strongest tools for this work. When the persona dominates, the unconscious often sends images of exposure, dreams of being naked in public or of masks falling off. These dreams are not nightmares, but invitations. They ask you to recognize the mask, to face the fear of being seen without it. By paying attention to such symbols, you can begin to integrate the parts of yourself hidden beneath the persona. Relationships are another mirror. If you feel that people admire you but do not truly know you, ask yourself, what am I showing them? Is it the persona or the self? True intimacy requires the courage to set the mask aside. It means allowing another person to see your fears, your contradictions, your imperfections. This is terrifying because the persona thrives on control. But it is also the only way to experience love that is real. There is also a social dimension to the persona. Entire groups, nations, or cultures wear collective masks. A society might glorify strength while shaming vulnerability, or celebrate wealth while silencing poverty. These collective personas shape how individuals hide their authentic selves. Jung's insight was that healing the individual also contributes to healing the collective. By daring to live more authentically, you ripple out into the larger psyche of humanity. The transformation, then, is not about destroying the persona, but about putting it in its rightful place. It is a mask, not your face. It is a bridge, not a home. You need it to function in the world, but you must also know when to take it off. Integration happens when you can hold the persona lightly, using it as a tool rather than worshiping it as an identity. Imagine walking through life with that balance. At work, you wear the mask of professionalism, but you know it is only a mask. With friends, you might play the role of the entertainer, but you no longer mistake it for the whole of you. And when you are alone, you let the masks fall completely, resting in the vastness of the self. That is the freedom Jung envisioned. So the next time you catch yourself playing a role, pause. Whisper to yourself, "This is my persona. It helps me, but it is not me." That small act of awareness is the beginning of liberation. Slowly, gently, you will rediscover the authentic self that has been waiting behind the mask all along. If this message resonates with you, consider staying with us here at Mind Alchemy. Together, we explore the symbols and insights that awaken the self, transforming the psyche, one insight at a time. Have you ever paused in front of a mirror and wondered if the face looking back at you is really yours, or just the reflection of 1,000 expectations layered onto your skin? That question lies at the heart of Jung's idea of the persona. The mask is not an illusion in the sense of a lie. It is a structure built for survival, woven from family rules, cultural norms, and social demands. We all wear it, because without it, society itself would unravel. Yet Jung insisted we must never forget, the mask is not the self. In daily life, the persona shows up everywhere. The student who raises their hand with confidence even when uncertain, the employee who stays cheerful in a meeting despite exhaustion, the friend who always listens but never shares their own pain. Each of these roles is useful, even necessary. They grease the wheels of human interaction. But trouble arises when we no longer know how to take them off. What begins as a tool becomes a cage, and the self is forced into silence. This is why so many people experience what feels like emptiness. They have mastered their roles but lost touch with their own desires. The performer adored by crowds, the professional respected by colleagues, the parent praised for sacrifice. Inside, they feel unseen. This is not failure. It is the inevitable hunger of the self to be known beyond the persona. Jung would say the soul is whispering, "You are more than the role you play." To live with awareness of the persona is to recognize its double nature. On one side, it protects you. On the other, it blinds you. You need the mask to negotiate the outer world, but you also need moments when the mask falls and your inner world breathes. That balance is delicate. Too much persona and life feels hollow. Too little persona and society rejects you. The art of living, Jung believed, is learning to dance between the two. How do you begin this dance? Start by identifying the masks you wear most often. Perhaps you are the achiever at work, the caretaker at home, the optimist among friends. Then ask, where do these roles serve me and where do they drain me? Which ones give me energy and which ones suffocate me? By naming the mask, you loosen its grip. The persona thrives in the unconscious. Once you shine awareness on it, it begins to soften. Next, create spaces where the mask can be removed. This might be in solitude, where you can sit without performance. It might be in a trusted relationship, where you dare to show not only your strengths, but your wounds. Each time you allow yourself to be seen without the mask, you reclaim a piece of your wholeness. Over time, the self grows stronger, and the persona returns to its rightful place as a tool, not a tyrant. Consider how society itself pressures us to cling to the persona. Social media rewards polished images, workplaces prize efficiency, families expect tradition. Yet if you live only for these demands, you risk betraying the deeper self. Jung believed individuation, the process of becoming whole, requires courage to defy these pressures. It does not mean rejecting the persona completely, but using it consciously, while refusing to confuse it with your essence. There will be fear. Removing the mask even briefly can feel like stepping onto a stage naked. But vulnerability is not weakness, it is the beginning of authenticity. The moment you confess, "I don't know," or "I'm afraid," or "I feel lost," you invite genuine connection. Others may be surprised, even uncomfortable, but the ones who stay will love the person, not just the role. That kind of love is worth every risk. Imagine a life where you can walk through the world knowing, "This is my persona, but it is not my prison. I can put it on when needed, and I can set it aside when I choose." That is freedom. That is the self shining through. Jung's vision was not to destroy the persona, but to restore our relationship with it, to live in awareness, to honor the roles without worshiping them. The mask will always be there, but behind it waits the vastness of your being, untamed, unfiltered, alive. The journey is not about discarding the persona, but about daring to look beyond it, to rediscover the infinite self that has been waiting patiently all along. If this spoke to you, stay with us at Mind Alchemy. Here, we explore Jung's timeless insights and symbols to transform the psyche, one insight at a time. Have you noticed how easily the world rewards the mask you wear, but overlooks the soul beneath it? A polished performance often wins applause, while raw honesty is met with silence or even discomfort. This tension is exactly what Jung meant when he spoke of the persona, the mask that mediates between our inner self and the outer world. Without it, we cannot survive. With it, we risk forgetting who we truly are. Think of how many versions of yourself exist across different spaces. At work, you may project competence and ambition, always ready with the right answer. With friends, you might slip into humor, the entertainer who keeps the mood light. In family gatherings, you wear the mask of responsibility, steady and reliable. None of these are lies. They are fragments of truth, but they are not the whole truth. The danger lies in mistaking these fragments for the entirety of your being. Jung explained that the persona is necessary because society itself is built on roles. Imagine a world where no one filtered their emotions, where anger or grief erupted unrestrained in every interaction. Chaos would follow. The mask brings order. It is the stage costume that allows the play to continue. But what happens when the actor forgets it is a costume? When the performance never ends, even in the privacy of one's own heart? This is why exhaustion creeps in. Many people cannot explain why they feel drained after long social interactions. The reason is often that the mask has been glued on too tightly. Smiles forced, agreements made against one's convictions, roles performed without rest. That fatigue is not merely physical. It is the soul protesting. It is the deeper self whispering, I need space. I need air. Social media magnifies this issue. Online platforms reward personas more than authenticity. A perfectly curated feed, a professional resume, a witty persona on camera, all attract attention. But over time, the line between the performance and the person blurs. You begin to forget whether you are smiling because you feel joy or because the algorithm demands it. Jung would call this a dangerous over-identification with the persona, one that risks emptiness and despair. So how do we step back? The first step is courage, the willingness to admit that the mask exists. Many people resist this truth because it feels safer to pretend that the mask is who they are. But Jung taught that self-knowledge begins with honesty. The moment you say, yes, I am wearing a persona, you reclaim power. The second step is practice, creating moments where the mask can be set aside. In solitude, in journaling, in trusted relationships, these are spaces where you can meet yourself again. Dreams often reflect the struggle with the persona. People dream of masks falling off, of being exposed in public, of standing naked on a stage. These dreams are not accidents. They are messages. The unconscious dramatizes what the conscious mind avoids, the fear of being seen as you truly are. By paying attention to such dreams, you can hear the call of the self demanding authenticity. This work is not about rejecting the persona altogether. Jung would never suggest that. Instead, it is about learning to wear it consciously. Use it as you would use a tool, aware of its function and its limits. Wear the professional mask at work, but take it off at home. Wear the social mask at gatherings, but set it down in solitude. Balance, not destruction, is the key. The transformation begins in small acts of truth, saying I don't know when you usually pretend, admitting I'm tired instead of forcing cheer, sharing a fear instead of hiding behind strength. Each act loosens the mask's hold. Each act brings you closer to your authentic self. Imagine the relief of walking into a room without the need to perform. Imagine relationships where love is offered not to the role you play, but to the person you are. This is not fantasy. It is the natural outcome of living with awareness of the persona. Jung believed that wholeness comes not by erasing the mask, but by integrating it, letting it serve its purpose without dominating your soul. So remember this, the persona is useful, but it is not you. It is a costume, not your essence. It can help you, but it cannot define you. The true journey begins the moment you dare to ask, who am I beyond the mask? That question alone can change the course of your life. If this reflection touched you, stay with us here at Mind Alchemy. Together, we explore Jung's wisdom to transform the psyche, one insight at a time. Have you ever felt a strange disconnection between the life everyone sees and the life you secretly live inside? This split is the mark of the persona at work. Jung believed that while the mask is necessary for social survival, it becomes dangerous when we confuse it with our essence. The deeper self is infinite, vast, and complex, but the persona shrinks it into a single role. Over time, we begin to suffocate under the weight of this simplification. Think about how society pushes us into these molds. In school, children quickly learn that certain behaviors win approval, being quiet, being obedient, being smart. Later, careers demand the polished professional, confident, capable, tireless. Family life adds more roles, the dutiful child, the loving partner, the patient parent. Each role is valid in its place, but together they form a mask so thick that the face behind it fades from view. Many wake up in midlife realizing they have lived decades without ever meeting their true self. The persona often feels safe because it is rewarded. Promotions, compliments, likes, and admiration all flow to the mask. But the cost of this reward is authenticity. The mask cannot hold pain, doubt, or longing. It must always perform. This is why even those who have it all sometimes confess to emptiness. Their persona is admired, but their soul is starving. Jung urged us to pay attention to the signs of this starvation. They appear as anxiety without cause, depression that lingers, or dreams that disturb. The unconscious speaks when the conscious refuses to listen. Dreams of crumbling houses, of lost voices, of masks falling away, all signal the tension between the persona and the self. These images are not accidents but messages, urging us to look deeper. How do we respond? First, by cultivating awareness. Notice when you are playing a role and name it. This is my professional mask. This is my social mask. Naming breaks the spell. Next, create intentional spaces of authenticity. Write a journal without filters. Spend time alone in silence. Share honestly with someone you trust. These practices are small acts of rebellion against the tyranny of the persona. Relationships become more real when the mask loosens. Instead of being admired for your performance, you allow yourself to be loved for your truth. This requires vulnerability, saying, "I'm afraid," or "I'm not okay." The persona resists this, fearing rejection. But Jung insisted that true intimacy cannot grow through masks. Only when two people dare to show their unmasked selves can genuine love and friendship flourish. There is also a collective dimension. Jung believed that entire societies wear personas. A culture may exalt independence while secretly longing for connection, or celebrate wealth while hiding its poverty. These collective masks shape our individual masks. When you dare to live authentically, you not only free yourself, but contribute to the healing of the larger human psyche. Transformation does not mean destroying the persona. It means putting it in balance. Use the mask consciously, like a tool. Step into your role at work, then step out of it at home. Wear the social smile at a party, but let your silence breathe when you're alone. Integration happens when you know the difference between the role and the self. The mask is part of you, but it is not all of you. Imagine carrying your masks with awareness, like costumes you can wear or remove as needed. Imagine no longer confusing the applause for your role with love for your soul. That is the freedom Jung pointed toward. Individuation, the path to becoming whole. The journey is not about perfection, but about honesty. It is about daring to ask, who am I behind the mask, and am I willing to meet that person? The persona will always be part of your life. But remember, it is a servant, not a master. When you reclaim this truth, you rediscover the vastness of your being. And that is where transformation begins, at the edge of the mask, in the courage to step beyond. If these reflections awaken something within you, join us at Mind Alchemy. Together, we explore Jung's timeless insights, transforming the psyche, one insight at a time. Have you ever sensed that the version of yourself you show the world is only a fraction of who you are? Jung called this outer layer the persona, the mask we craft to navigate society. It helps us play our roles smoothly, the competent professional, the caring parent, the loyal friend. Without it, social life would be chaotic. But the mask comes with a hidden cost. The more we identify with it, the more we forget the self waiting behind it. This is why so many people, even when surrounded by admiration, feel profoundly unseen. They are celebrated for the persona, but not known for their essence. The applause grows louder, yet the silence inside deepens. Jung described this as a form of alienation, a loss of connection with the authentic self. The world might love the role you play, but do you? Dreams often reveal this tension. Jung believed the unconscious resists being smothered by the mask, so it sends messages at night. People dream of masks cracking, of being exposed in public, of standing on stage without lines to speak. These images dramatize the fear and desire to be seen without the persona. They remind us that the self cannot be silenced forever. It will find a way to break through. Awareness is the first step toward healing this split. Begin by noticing when you shift masks throughout the day. Ask yourself, am I speaking from habit or from truth? Am I performing for approval or expressing myself freely? The answers may be uncomfortable, but they are doorways to authenticity. Jung insisted that growth comes not from denying the persona, but from recognizing it as only one layer of your being. Relationships deepen when the mask loosens. Imagine telling a friend, "I'm struggling," instead of playing the strong one, or admitting to a partner, "I don't have all the answers," instead of wearing the mask of certainty. These moments of rawness are frightening, but they build the bridges that true intimacy requires. Without them, love remains shallow, mask-loving mask, instead of soul meeting soul. Society, too, wears its own personas. A culture may glorify independence while hiding loneliness, or worship wealth while ignoring emptiness. These collective masks shape our personal ones, teaching us which parts of ourselves to show and which to conceal. Jung believed that by daring to question the persona, you not only free yourself but also contribute to a wider healing of the collective psyche. Transformation begins in small acts. Writing in a journal without filters, allowing silence in conversation instead of filling it with performance, pausing before agreeing to something and asking, is this truly me or just my persona speaking? Each small step peels away the mask's grip. Slowly, the authentic self emerges, not to destroy the persona, but to balance it. Imagine a life where you wear your masks consciously, like clothes you can change, rather than armor you cannot remove. At work, you wear the professional face, but you know it is not your identity. With friends, you bring humor, but you no longer confuse laughter with connection. And in solitude, you let every mask fall away, resting in the vastness of who you are. That is the freedom Jung called individuation, the path toward wholeness. So when you feel the subtle ache of disconnection, pause. Whisper to yourself, this mask serves me, but it is not me. In that moment of honesty, you open the door to authenticity. Step by step, you will discover the self that has been waiting behind the persona all along. If these words resonate, join us at Mind Alchemy. Together we explore Jung's wisdom and uncover the insights that transform the psyche, one insight at a time.